Hello and welcome to the Tesla Life number 207. Here we are, the 23rd of June, 2021. And look, guys, I got an alert. The show's starting right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's how
Guess
I
we are
miss it.
live. Yeah.
If you're out there watching, if you click on that bell, you'll get notified whenever the show starts as well. No matter if we're starting it a couple minutes early, a couple minutes late, or right on time. You'll be notified at any point.
And Hockey Day was first in
YouTube,
chat
right?
this week.
Yeah, we've heard some questions about whether it goes out accurately all the time, but that's out of our control. That's YouTube.
That's YouTube right there. I had
Hey,
one
Hockey
where
Day.
the show notification didn't go out till 5 minutes before I ended the show, and this is on my 2-hour Sunday stream.
Yeah, your Sunday chats are not 5 minutes. They go on a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You won't be checking in the last 5 minutes. That's crazy.
Well, I guess they're done.
So we got Hockey Day in the chat. We got
And Derek.
Casey's monitoring. We got Derek. He got notified, he said, with a little bit of a YouTube delay. So fantastic. Welcome to the show, guys. Well, this week, always stuff to talk about. Never ends. And just a quick update this week with UFC fighter Beneil Dariush.
Squeaky wheel.
or Squeaky Wheel's his middle name, exactly. He, of course, prompted Elon Musk after winning a fight, being interviewed by Joe Rogan, which I'm sure had another piece of the puzzle to that, had said, "Hey, Elon, where's my Model X?" And Elon responded back to him and apologized and said, "You could have this Model Y until your X showed up." Well, apparently this week his X showed up and was in his driveway. Yeah, exactly.
I gotta sell it. It's quarter end.
So he got his new X, but it didn't say whether or not it was a refreshed vehicle. And I'm thinking it couldn't have been.
It's not. I'm looking at the front of it.
No one has gotten a new X with the new front yet.
That part. I'm also looking at the front, and it looks like mine after a vacation. So he's obviously been driving it.
So it's not a Plaid X, right?
No, it's not. So
it might be a P100D, but it's not
Plaid. He would have
Plaid.
showed off that he had, the Yoke Steering Wheel or something, but there was just an exterior front shot, nothing else.
Yeah, I'm seeing the chrome on the front and the fog lights like mine, so it's not refreshed.
So
seats like
I wonder if Elon found somebody with a leftover one that's
there's got to be a demo
somewhere, or if they made a special one out of spare parts just for him.
I don't think so, because it's got the Model Y seats for the front seats, and yeah, it was like the last. Like they must have found this one hanging out at the factory or in some showroom somewhere of the last of the 2020s.
So he got his vehicle, and now he can keep his daughter safe, because that's what he said he was getting it. He wanted the safest vehicle possible to put his daughter in.
Which means he doesn't need Plaid speeds.
Well, hey, I mean,
that is absolutely
I got some ludicrous with the safest SUV on the road.
Yeah, Casey knows it doesn't have to be. It's no slouch. So even with the older version of the vehicle, it goes fast enough.
Oh, this guy in a Camaro the other day was, I was just chilling at a red light, and apparently I was racing. I didn't know it. He got way out ahead, and then he saw my 6,000-pound rear end. Then at the next light, apparently I was still racing, and I got way ahead, like miles down the road, and then he comes blasting by. It's like, well, you've already lost if I'm all the way up here and you took you that long to catch up.
Well, after a while it just gets crazy, right? Like if you get prompted to go light the light, or if the guy has to spool it all the way up so that he's beating you once he's doing 120 miles an hour.
I only go to the speed limit.
It's crazy for the streets. So just light the light, keep it within the limit. Acceleration is key, and of course Tesla has that to spare.
Yeah.
Even that though, when the light turns green, if you jump on it and get into the intersection,
you still get in trouble.
At least around here, there are some people who see yellow and think I can make it, and it turned to red. Well, I'll just count that as orange, and I'll keep going or whatever. So if you get into that intersection too fast, even if your light is perfectly legally green and it's your turn, that doesn't mean someone else is gonna. Yeah. So
that's true. Always keep your eyes open. That's for sure.
Yeah. And if people want to be jerks at the stoplights, no, take that shit to the track. Don't do this in city streets where there are pedestrians and other people. That's not what it's
at night. But yeah, I get you.
Yeah. I'm just the lawyer just called and said, chill.
Not recommended. Blah blah blah.
So exactly.
Today I was running between doctor's office, dentist, home. And I saw at least 5 people run stale like yellow lights. Like by the time they decided to punch it, the light had already turned red, and they still ran it anyway.
Wow! And stale yellow. I like that term.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
So by the time they got through the intersection, it had been green on the other side before they even entered. It's like, come on, guys! This is how people die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Stay safe out there, everybody.
With that, Zachary's joined the conversation. Hello, Zachary. Thanks for joining. And with that, on to Casey, who's got a story about the UK for us.
It's me. What was I talking about again? Oh, yes. So we've got Model 3 from Drive Tesla Canada. We found out that a Model 3 police car is beginning trials as emergency response vehicle in the UK. It looks appropriate. Let's take a look.
So it's now jumped the pond. It's
everybody wants one.
Police want to see it.
It's the way to do it
in the UK.
Yeah.
And is that? I think I've got a photo of this. I can probably share that with the audience.
All right.
And is that a 3 or is it a Y?
The Model 3.
3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's got the appropriate UK livery stickers.
Markation. Ooh. Casey was sharing the image.
That's what's going on. I overran Casey and turned it off. So so the Model 3 is now being tested in the UK for a police vehicle.
Also performance. I like the
why not? Go for it.
Yeah, I like the crosshatch in the back where it's got the diamond triangle that they always have, and the way that they mounted the lights and such on the inside is just like. Have you guys seen the Model 3 phone holder where it's like a sidecar to the screen?
Off the screen.
Yeah, that's what they've got for the light bars controls. Nice.
Yeah, so I wonder how long until Tesla's this is something you can order. Well, maybe not like anybody, but so that it'll come with all the things that the police there's so many of them ordering this now that
it would be smart to have a police package like Ford and General Motors have police packages they have available to you.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
It might be a little difficult with so many different precincts, and they all have different counties, have different requirements, different countries. But it's so you charge a nice premium for it because it's not going to be high volume, and there's a lot of logistics to handle with all the different requirements. But if you can do it profitably and it's more EVs out there on the road, because those cars put in a lot of miles, and that's a lot of emissions that we can avoid.
Yeah. And idling too. They do a lot of idling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I like the way that they put the sticker around the B pillar, but they left the cutout for the camera. We've learned from some folks that get their B pillars wrapped that they aren't very useful for autopilot after that.
Right.
And
there's a pro tip right there. If you're getting a wrap done, make sure to tell.
Don't cover cameras.
Yeah, don't cover the camera. That's not real. Maybe that's an amateur tip.
That sounds a bit of
Well, see what happens
if you cover a camera, it can't see. Did you know that? Wow.
No, we're talking clear PPF. So what happens is a lot of wrap shops think they're being helpful, and instead they're introducing a way for there to be moisture or. Like it is fine when you leave the shop, but the minute you have some adverse weather or go night to day, like it might fog up, and the camera hates that. Even if you look into it, it looks fine. Derek is asking where they put the shotgun, and from what I've seen of UK police is when they do need an armed unit, that everybody starts shouting "armed unit," and they shout "armed unit inbound," and I like the way that they do it. You know you're about to get shot, so it's not a guess, because not every constable has a firearm.
I know
in
some
UK.
departments lock their shotguns in the trunk.
Yeah, a lot of them
as
do.
opposed to mounting it behind the officers in the front of the vehicle.
Yeah.
A lot of them have gun locks that are in the trunk for those particular weapons.
In San Jose, they have a vertical rack between the front seats. Yep, that's what they were talking about doing with the Cybertruck. A lot of the police that I've been talking to, and in the Model Y, they'll probably mount it like behind the driver, assuming that they don't have a cage for a prisoner. And Anders says, "Good morning from Stockholm."
Very good.
3 What time
I'm
is
sure
it?
it's early.
It's early. 5 hours from here, so it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. You're on your way to work, I assume. Let's see. So they hope to see the same kind of savings that we saw with Barkersville and several other agencies.
They'll have better savings because, of course, gasoline is double that of Canada in Europe. So you know that our prices are high; it's double in Europe. So
wow, lots of gas taxes over there.
Exactly. Plus, it meets with their end of combustion requirements in those countries.
Yeah, and of course, a number of those European cities now have mandates in place where you know, I guess it wouldn't stop the police, but
it would not stop the police.
They're asking that combustion vehicles do not drive in the downtown cores.
Right. It would also help with stealth. Well, yeah, they can still just unplug the noisemaker.
Yeah, with stealth, and if you want to catch people in EVs, good luck doing that in a gas car.
Right.
I can just see these criminals at 3 a.m. creeping around and one of them goes to the other guy, "Do you think there's supposed to be an ice cream truck out at this time of night?"
They put a silent.mp3.
Oh my goodness.
Detective.mode.
Let's talk about Model S at the drag strip. Of course, the Model S Plaids that were released, a number of the owners immediately went to test their vehicles out. And one of them took it to a drag strip in the San Francisco Bay Area. And here's the crazy thing. With a vehicle that's on the drag strip, the regulations of that drag strip requires that any car that is a sub 10-second run, they have to have certain safety equipment like a roll cage, like a parachute. Driver needs to have a fire suit. Helmets are always required. But once a car goes below that sub 10 seconds, those serious measures like parachute, roll cages are required. And of course, the Plaid doesn't have any of that. What it has is a car that definitely does sub 10 seconds. But what the owner in this particular case did was that he would either let off partway through the race, or he would let the timer kick off and then he would start late. But he was just guessing so that he would stay above that 10-second mark. And of course, the track superintendent or marshal came over to him and said, "Hey, listen, if this car is going to go under 10, we're going to have to kick you off the track. That's all there is. You get one warning, and then the next time you're off." But the track marshal knew that this car was definitely going to do that and gave this owner a couple of tricks to try to keep it under 10. And then he said, and when you're ready to get your full runs in, he said, when you've done your practice, you know how fast the car is going, you want to get a final run in. And he said, just make that your last run so that we kick you off the track with your new record in hand. So they were nice about it. But of course, they have to follow the rules for their insurance liability and everything else. They've got to follow the rules. But it's just kind of funny that a 4-door sedan, luxury vehicle is out there blowing away track records, and it's so fast that they require a roll bar and a parachute in order to run it flat out.
I kind of get it for cars that have been like souped up to reach that, but a stock car is not tuned at all. That's extra. I mean, I get the fire suit, the helmet, whatever, but the roll cage, I mean, seems excessive.
Oh, it definitely is, but this is a new class of vehicle. The
Right.
world has not seen this before.
Yeah,
It's brand new. Maybe the rules will change over time.
hopefully.
Production cars that are not modified in whatsoever, the safety equipment in this is fine to do these things. But at this point, these are new records that have not been broken previously, and of course, the track has not seen this before. So this is new territory.
They were arguing if my bus needed hood pins or not, but they decided since it's stock, then I don't need hood pins.
Like that's another, yeah, exactly. That's another crazy thing. Yeah, well, let me go home and drill some holes and put some hood pins in. No, that's not going to happen. So
Exactly.
it'll be what a travesty that would be. But
my drag race insurance dropped me too. They're like, "Hey, we're not going to renew you." It's like, what? I called them to find out why, and nothing. Silence.
Yeah.
Mm.
So very cool though that it's breaking new ground, and of course the car is breaking records, as we've seen last week when we heard that they were out at Laguna Seca as well. So another example of this is now the drag strips.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but Gook asks, Teslas are the safest cars in the world. Why roll cage on a closed track? And I think it's just legacy. It's like they have the rules set up, and then whoever thought a stock car would make these numbers when it's all been purpose-built race cars or super tuned up combustion cars. So they just have to catch up with what's going on. Zach says his dream is getting kicked out of racing for speeding. Yes, you're too fast.
This is a track. What do you think this is?
Every track?
Exhibition of speed. Get a speeding ticket at the racetrack.
Yeah, getting a speeding ticket at the racetrack. Exactly.
There's our show title.
And along with, of course, the Model S, another big thing that was released with the vehicle was, of course, that Yoke Steering Wheel. And it only took a couple weeks. And now Model 3s and Ys, there's an aftermarket that you can get a yoke for your car. So
this looks
Casey
better than the
Patrick,
last one.
Have you ordered one already?
Not yet.
Not yet. I didn't think so. But I've got a photo here. It looks pretty cool. It looks, except for of course, the buttons aren't the same. But it does give you the ability. Here we go. Share. Bingo.
Yeah, so this is I can't get one for my ex. Not yet.
The one they used to have for us is ugly.
Now this one is from Brian at I1 Tesla. He made a video about this, and it's connected. The aftermarket group is called Hanshaw, I believe.
Yeah, Hanshaw. Yeah.
And Hanshaw is actually he's got a binnacle display as well. That's Hanshaw as well.
It is. He had something else before them, and obviously he likes this better.
This one is
it's faithful.
He's just got, of course, the thumb spinners as a normal 3 or Y would have. He does not have the extra buttons. But get this is Alcantara around the outside.
Unlike the Tesla.
The wheel prices are somewhere between $900 and $1,100 US.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Alcantara is a great idea for a high touch area.
For
exactly.
Something you're putting your hands on to get, kind of dirty quite quickly, I would think.
If you wear driving gloves, but you don't.
Right. So I've seen Alcantara covered shifters, and then it just gets
Cookie.
Becomes shiny. Yeah. Or it loses that nice Alcantara texture. So I don't know that that's a good choice for a high touch area. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I've
and
never.
they do have other choices. You can get just carbon fiber. There's other choices. It just that
Okay.
this is what he chose.
I'd go with the vegan wrap and the heater.
Yeah, and
Oh, they have a heat option.
I don't know.
Heat option.
That's what I would want.
Yeah. There's no heat option at this point.
Probably for if the Model X, because that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
There's Brian. If you don't know what Brian looks like,
I won Tesla.
Yeah,
We don't need to give him a plug. He's got 10 times more followers than we do.
It's not a competition.
It's always nice to spread the joy.
Exactly.
You're right.
And,
You're this nice Canadian.
Yeah.
So I'll put the link, of course, is in the notes if you want to watch the video with him using it and installing it. It's all there for the watching if you wish.
And from what I saw of it, it seems to operate just as well as the Tesla's square wheel, not a yoke.
Well, that's the other thing, of course, we found out, right? Was that
Yeah.
It's not a wheel that modified the steering based on your speed. Elon did make a comment about that via Twitter and indicated it was something that Tesla would aim for. So it sounds like it's not really on the drawing board at this point.
He said in a
wheel
couple
is
of years.
just a normal wheel.
Yeah, we saw how long 2 weeks is for him. I'd hate to find out how long he thinks a couple of years is.
Yeah.
Actually, we still haven't found out how long 2 weeks is for him. We've just discovered that it's a lot longer than 6 weeks.
Is that the button?
Yes.
How long was Do
you remember him at the latest event when they said about the do you want to have waypoints?
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd cheered wildly, and then some guy yelled out of the background, 2 weeks.
Oh man! So the at least one of the plaids at the event was shipped with the Fsd Beta.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So that just puts them in the beta program. What about all the rest of us?
Nothing for us.
Yep. Where's my download button? Come on.
Give me my dadgum button, Elon.
Yeah. I'm going to get a Post-it note and write download and stick it to mine.
Oh, there's somebody who did that for April Fools. They put one in and they made it move and they went to go touch it.
Oh, that's even better. Absolutely. Next, Patrick's got a story about Sydney, Australia. What's going on there?
That's right. So, you know me, my quest for a future free from fossil fuels. Well, here's a apartment building in Sydney that is helping make that a little more possible. So they have installed 201 kilowatt hour of solar panel PV system. And they've installed a lot of Tesla Powerwall batteries. That is 324 kilowatt hours worth. So let's do a little math. There's 13.5 each.
Power packs.
Yeah, at that point, when you're installing that many, maybe a power pack is the way to go. But because you can only put 10 of them together in an installation. So if you have them set up, if you have this split up into different, with that much solar, you're going to have different inverters, and so you can treat each of them as its own group.
Yeah.
And so this is really cool. If you're an apartment dweller, it's much more difficult to get solar. It's not like a homeowner where you own your roof and you can just go and contract somebody and do it. But if you're looking for an apartment, now, if solar is something you're interested in, this is a great option for you. So I think more apartment buildings, condos, other places are going to start doing this because people are caring more about it. I mean, we're having record heat waves. And if you have a system where, there's more heat, that means you need more energy to run your air conditioner. And if that's being sourced by fossil fuels, that means more emissions, which means more global warming. And that's an ugly, vicious circle you don't want to get stuck in. So what we need instead is solutions like this.
Yeah. And that comes out to be 24.92 Powerwalls.
Yeah, I was just about to thank you.
Yeah, so if you can't divide it in evenly.
I got 24 exactly.
More of a,
Did I use the wrong number?
324 divided by 13.5 is 24.
Oh, I didn't include all the partials.
So
yeah, that's
yep.
24 exactly.
So they probably have it broken up into like 5 or 10
Yeah, a couple Powerwalls per circuit.
installation across the different buildings.
Right. Yep.
That would explain why they wouldn't use a power pack. Although a power pack would still be more
It would
cost
be interesting
effective.
to see where the cost effectiveness of going from a number of power walls to a power pack would be. I wonder where that crossover point is.
Yeah.
Plus you get the auto bidder, and you get, the installation is quicker because they're just dropping in 3 units from a crane instead of hoisting up 24 300-pound all units.
Right, but then you have to dedicate a couple parking spot size places for it, where this could just go on the wall of the existing building
next to the solar panels, and
all
hopefully
those,
don't shade them.
all those batteries on the roof. That might be a bit of a structural issue.
I wonder if this. Yeah,
that might be why.
Talk about a pool being heavy. You get all those batteries sitting there. That would be heavy as well.
Yeah, and a power pack is 10 power walls, and if a power wall is somewhere around 300 pounds, that's significant.
Yeah, so this is a pretty cool idea, and it says here that this will be able to provide about 5 hours of backup to the apartment complex, which is if the grid goes down because of the heat of the day, instead of roasting, you're going to be able to have 5 hours of energy, and hopefully that's enough to get you into the cool of the night, and then the demand on the grid drops, and if you're lucky, your outage is less than 5 hours, and you're back up and running. And when we lost power here in this winter, it was only for a couple hours, and that was the tower walls took over no problem, and power came back online. And unlike everybody else on the block, we were not without power at all, which was really cool.
Or somebody goes street racing and takes out your transformer outside the apartment overnight.
Right. Yes.
Well, the other thing is that this particular company that's building this apartment complex, it's a learning thing too, right? If they put in this number of power walls, they put in X amount of solar panels, they're going to be actively monitoring this over the time that installation is up and running, and they'll be able to adjust based on the data that they get back over time. So maybe they'll add a few more power walls, or maybe they'll add more solar panels, or a combination based on the results that they get over the time.
Right, and like you said, maybe then they will look at power packs instead of power walls, or even mega packs, depending on how big of a structure they're building, and maybe just build it in from the beginning. Like, okay, we're going to save this spot. This is where we have all the power connections, and everything's pre-wired for it, and you drop it in, and it's ready to go.
Yeah, hopefully they'll put out a white paper so other people can benefit from their knowledge from putting this installation in and tracking it over time.
That's a great idea.
Next, oh yeah, this was kind of interesting. I was out viewing the website that we frequent, or I certainly frequent, which is supercharge.info, which tracks all the superchargers around the world, and keeps track of the permits, keeps track of construction, keeps track of the actual ones that opened. And what I thought was kind of cool was I was looking at Austin, Texas recently, or in that area, the greater Austin area. And whoops, what I've got here is a photograph or a screenshot that I took from it. And you can definitely tell that Tesla has moved into Austin because the permits have gone through the roof. They've, you've got what's 2, 4, 6, 7 new ones with the 3 that were in the downtown core already. So it definitely shows that Tesla's on the move in Austin. They're going to start to build up the infrastructure around them. And of course, that only makes sense because you're going to have a lot of employees moving into that area. You're going to have a lot of people with Tesla cars that are going to be setting up shop and would want the convenience that they previously got in Southern and Central California.
Maybe one day they'll be able to sell them there.
Yeah, this is just for those out-of-state visitors coming into Austin.
And just for people to know, the Tesla Gigafactory in Texas is somewhere in this vicinity.
I wonder if they can put any at the factory like they did in Fremont.
I gotta believe they're going to, because they're going to open up nature trails, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to have places for people to park, and I am sure there will be superchargers there, as well as some probably L2s.
Yeah, hopefully a couple destination chargers, because I'd be a little upset if I needed to charge to continue my trip and somebody was out on a hike.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I just saw another video. Actually, it was with Brian from My One Tesla, where he went to the Grand Canyon, and at his hotel there, they got a Tesla supercharger out back with 12 stalls, and it also had 6 or 8 L2s from Tesla that were in the same spot. So you could go for a walk, and your car wasn't blocking superchargers if you were gone for over the 40 minutes or 20 minutes it would take to charge on the supercharger.
At the most, yeah. It's like, I gotta run back.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting charged by the minute here.
Yeah, getting charged by the minute now.
Oh, I saw a Facebook post. Somebody had a $40 overage charge. They were showing, on their I don't know if it's a Y or a 3. It was the new screen, and their charge session was $4. Their overage session was $35.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's the idle fees, right? If you stay plugged in longer than you should, and it's the right thing for Tesla to discourage people from plugging in and just walking away. And maybe I'm a little bitter because when I got my Leaf, I drove out to Spirit Mountain, this casino that's quite a ways, and I needed to charge to get home. Well, I go over to the one Chatamo that they had there, and somebody was plugged in and just gone. And so they had a level 2. I plugged into that, and then I was in the car for about, 90 minutes before they finally showed up, and they had been charged.
They were charged when you got there, probably.
Yeah, they were almost done, to the point it was going slow enough that they could have been on the L2 and got the same speed. And so, I mean, they could have moved and I could have charged, but they were in the casino doing who knows what. And when there's only when there's only one stall, you can't just walk away. You gotta be there and attend to it and the share. So they only get those idle fees if the supercharged location is more than half occupied, which means you do need to move your car. And the app gives you warnings, and you can always check your state of charge. And so I have no sympathy for that person. That $35, they
earned it.
Yeah, exactly. And since we another tip for our viewers, if you call and ask, I think they'll waive it for you one time.
Oh, it's automatic now. They'll waive your first one. So I was talking to an older gentleman in Florida, and we got to our Tesla time, and then I realized I should probably go check on it, and I got myself a 50-cent fee that they had waived automatically. They said, "This is your only warning."
You wasted it. You should. 50 cents. No, let me pay that one and waive the next one.
I'd like to see them charge more than just at half. But the thing you have to remember is that just because it's empty when you get there, it doesn't mean it's going to stay empty. So if you are there and it's almost done, you should just be ready to go get it, because there could be, it's a platoon of Teslas. I'm not talking a club. It just could be just a bunch. For whatever reason, there's a bunch, and now it's full.
A coil.
What I found amazing with my trip across the country there before COVID was that the charging was so quick, is that you don't realize how long you had to stand in line to get food or something. Like you go to the washroom, you get a drink, you order some food, and all of a sudden my app is alerting me, hey, 5 minutes left. And it's like, wow, that time just...
I don't even have the food yet. I just ordered it. Paid.
Exactly. Luckily,
Yep.
we were traveling as a family, so the rest of the family remained, and I go out and move the car. But I was shocked partway into the trip as to how quick the car would actually charge and alert me that it was time to move it.
And now it's even faster with the proliferation of version 3, and then as we see with the new Model S and Model X, and soon with all the other cars, as they are wont to do, they upgrade stuff all the time. You're adding hundreds of miles in 15 minutes now.
Yeah, I think the S was 183 miles in 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's getting shockingly fast.
That's over 2 hours of driving at 60.
Right. I like to think of charging in miles per hour. Yeah, that's you're going 700 miles an hour.
Speaking of charging and topping up, on to our next story, and this one's about a recycling group that we know. Patrick, what's that about?
That's right. This story is about Redwood Materials. But since this is related to JB Strabal, I think it's important that we first say, if you haven't heard, this past weekend, JB Strabal's wife, Borjana Strabal, was biking, and she was hit and killed by a driver who crossed the line and hit her while she was biking. So our condolences to the Strabal family and everybody involved in that. That's just a horrible accident. And it's a shame that it happened. It's people behind the wheels got to end at some point. Okay, so this story is from rgj.com, and Redwood Materials is doubling down on the Reno area. Currently, Redwood has about 100 employees, and with this expansion, they're going to grow to about 600 employees. So that's some significant growth. And Redwood Materials, they are a battery recycling company. So batteries run our modern world today, from all of our electronics and computers and portables and our cars, and soon semi-trucks, and eventually airplanes. And so it's incredibly important that these are recycled. And that is exactly what is happening here. That's Redwood's intention, is to be the gigafactory in reverse, the taking batteries and turning them into components that can be made into new, better batteries.
That's a great way to put it. Gigafactory in reverse.
Yeah.
The anti-gigafactory.
Yeah. So JB Strabal was the chief technology officer at Tesla. A lot of the innovations that they have, he was vital in getting that company up and going. I mean, he was their technical expert for all things. And if you know anything about his history, he came from doing solar cars in college, and teams doing that, and was definitely is definitely a genius in this area. And so no one better to figure out how to make these materials from what we're all hopefully recycling and not throwing away. There you go. So good luck on Redwood.
Yeah, so they're doubling down on Reno because they're purchasing more land as well. Well, obviously, if you're going to increase your employees from 100 to 600, you've probably got some more buildings and stuff as well. So that's good news, because, of course, this is going to be a huge amount of recycling is going to be required as vehicles get into their 15th, 20th year of operation. At some point, those batteries are going to be needed to be recycled. And I understand that Redwood is not just aiming at the electric car market, but they're looking at anything that uses a battery. They
Correct.
want all the consumer devices. They want phones. They want tablets. They want computers. They want anything that uses those batteries to be able to recoup some of the materials that are inside of those battery packs. So
what would be even better is if these devices can be constructed such that removing the battery is easy. and then you can just give them raw batteries.
Well, wouldn't that be nice in our world as it sits now for almost anything?
Yeah.
When it comes to, you hear about recycling programs for, say, plastic bottles, and you find out that certain bottles and containers are not the same plastics across the board. Some of them can be easily recyclable, others not so much. In fact, there are even certain grades of plastic that cannot be recycled. It's just garbage. So, yeah, our world needs a healthy dose of this across the board, I would say, Casey, where
Absolutely.
we could turn around and say that, you know, maybe that's part of the design of the product, that everything that can be used can be pulled out of it easier in order to make the recycling a bigger part of the entire operation.
Yep.
Right. You need to think cradle to cradle, not cradle to grave.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I was watching a program on mushrooms, how they're using mycelium to replace some foams and plastics, which is a start.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a note on that as well this week. So you must have seen the same article or I spotted the same article you were reading.
Perhaps.
Along with that, let's move into recycling fees. How about subscriptions? Casey, what do you got on that?
Yes, they cycle back around every month.
They got no problem making those things recyclable, do they?
Right. So in the Tesla mobile app for Android and iOS, there is now a subscriptions tab. And if you go to it in your Me, it says you have all the available subscriptions because my car doesn't have any subscriptions because everything's included. But right now, the people who do have something here, it's showing the most people still don't even have that. But for the people who it shows something, it shows the LTE connection, the premium internet connectivity. And so we're
the new
on our way.
subscribe section showed up under the upgrades. And this is mine, so you can see mine's blanked out. I've got nothing to subscribe to, but we're thinking, of course, that this ultimately is where FSD is coming to.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Exactly. So kind of interesting that they've been updating this and, of course, rolling it out. And I'm sure that it's just going to show up one day without much fanfare. Of course, we'll have the fanfare. We'll be all excited about it. But until then, at least the section is built and it's awaiting its arrival.
I think we'll get a mass customer email from Tesla on this one because, you know, they do enjoy the paper.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they have some free trial that comes with it. And then that way, after your trial, if you're just like, hey, that was really cool, hit the subscribe button.
I still want to know what's going to happen for people that don't have the updated computer yet. They have maybe 2.5.
Yeah, good point.
Is there going to be you can have a free trial. It's going to cost you $4,000 to upgrade your computer, and then you can have a free trial. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah. So Derek said 2 weeks from when, and Trent says the 2nd. I think it's just the 2 weeks and until the head explodes and they pull off the mask on Mars. 2 weeks later.
Yeah, 2 weeks with no particular start date, so it can be 2 weeks from any time.
It will be 2 weeks after 2 weeks before it finally arrived.
Exactly.
How long is your stay, ma'am? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So some people did have what they thought was items that were showing up here where it had full self-driving and autopilot, but really that was just showing all the upgrades on their car. And like on Mark's, mine also wasn't showing anything extra, so it looks like they sorted that after folks got excited and put it all over the internet. So
Yep. So on its way. We'll keep our eyes on it. And of course, if you have a Tesla app, you can keep your eyes on it anytime you want. Just open the app and go to upgrades. And
so if you do see something, go to Twitter and go to @the_Tesla_Life and let us know.
There you go. And of course, you can also follow us on YouTube where you are now. Please give us a thumbs up. Press the subscribe button. That helps us out, gets us in front of new eyes, and helps support the show. You can also follow us on Facebook, the Tesla Life #1, and you can follow us there. And Patrick helps narrate that. Also, a thank you to Casey as well for helping being our technical guru with our live shows, which have been getting much smoother as time goes along. So thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Also, moving on to the next story, and this has got something to do with computers. And
Yeah.
what's going on there, Patrick?
That is right. So Andrej Karpathy, Tesla's head of AI and computer vision, was at, what is the name of this conference? It was the
workshop
2000
on autonomous driving.
Right, at the 2021 Conference on Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition. And he gave a talk, and it is actually a really cool talk. I highly recommend watching it. How long was it?
8 hours. Andre got in at the last 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. Right.
So if you
I only watched
Andre,
this
just
section.
skip to the last 40 minutes.
Right. And in it, he talked about why Tesla removed radar, for example. And he gave examples of, here is the data that we get from the radar, here's the data that we get from the camera, and how much more accurate the camera is now. And they had a really interesting example where they had a car intentionally on their safe test area slam on its brakes in front of them, and they did the same. And with the radar moving and whatever, radar would lose track of the car in front of them, and then regain it, and then lose it again, and it gained it and lost it 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
And
on the track, there's nothing else on there but guardrails and this other Tesla.
Right, and so that's noisy, inconsistent data, whereas the camera was giving them smooth and consistent data, and so they were able to much more reliably use that. And they also demonstrated how they're doing distance measuring. And the nice thing about that is you can make an inference on distance, and then the next second, when you know how much you've moved, you can make it again, and that can tell you how close the original estimate was. And then if it's not accurate, then you can change it. So that's self-labeling data. One of the hardest things to do is get a good training set. Well, if you can have this system that's able to teach itself like that without a person going in and telling it, no, this was wrong, and that, but instead it can sample again to confirm previous samples or reinforce when they had it right and give feedback when it was wrong. That's how you get a system that is incredible. And so, but that means that Tesla is collecting a lot of data. They've got a fleet of, I don't know, 1 million cars out there now collecting data around the world. And if you want to use that, you need a supercomputer to analyze all that data and program your neural net for the next reversion, next iteration of your self-driving software. So one of the things he revealed in this is that the supercomputer that Tesla has today would rank 5th in the world for supercomputers. And this is before Dojo, which they are currently working on, have been talking about for a couple of years now. So this supercomputer, I don't know if you're showing a picture of his slide. Yep, I'm not going to go into the technical specs, but yes, yeah. Imagine that, I mean, this is a company, how many other auto companies, not that Tesla is just an auto company, have supercomputers, let alone one that's ranked in the top 5 in the world? So that's
0.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how Tesla's doing what they're doing. They are a technology company that sells cars, and they are going to solve computer vision in a way that no one to date has done, and that's what's going to enable their incredible self-driving system. There you go.
And then there's a whole bunch of people in the comments on that article arguing whether or not they actually meet the top 5 designation. So it could be another case of Tesla sliding in there on the specs, but I mean, even if they miss by a little bit, that still puts them in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. And what matters is that they have adequate horsepower to get the things done that they need to do, and we know that they're every Tesla that goes out there on the road is another thing collecting data for them, which means that they're going to need an even bigger supercomputer a year from now, which is what they're working on. So they're going to continue to upgrade this and scale this as their fleet scales. And if they're selling 80, 90, 100% more cars than they did last year, that's going to be a lot more horsepower they're going to need every year.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to have to keep up with that exponential growth that they're experiencing.
Right.
No question about it.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll keep our eye on that story as it progresses, and of course, as Dojo comes into play, and Andrew, who is out there keeping, he's of course the top AI guy at Tesla as well, and we look forward to more presentations that he kind of slips in here and there. Those things really aren't announced at all. It just seems that someone comes across it after they happen, but we do get some interesting tidbits from those discussions.
Absolutely.
I do wish we'd get more of these like deep technical talks rather than, magical hand waving where people make up their own stuff. Because this is really cool for the people who care about it, and people who don't can just be like, "Oh, it's a supercomputer," and walk on.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this, as a lot of Tesla events are, part of this was him recruiting. So
Yes.
I mean, at this conference, the people who are attending are the ones who are interested in this as their career, and so they gave out the email address supercomputing@tesla.com if you want to apply. If this is an area you're studying in school and you're graduating soon, or you want an internship, or you're changing careers, or whatever, there's opportunity there if this is what you're interested in.
Yeah, and great forum to do that. Get a young mind who wants to head in that direction, and get them to apply. Get their name on the docket to discuss as to whether or not it's a good fit.
Yeah.
With that, on to our next story. And this one, of course, we've talked about previously. It's about New York City. And Casey's got an update for us on this.
I do. So a few weeks ago, we talked about a New York City taxi company called Revel, and how they had decided to invest in a bunch of Tesla Model Ys as their taxis, and they got their application in, and they got their medallions, and now all of a sudden, the taxi commission is telling them that they can't do this unless they buy 50 combustion cars and add them to the fleet as well, which is asinine.
Right. Why would the taxi commission care what kind of drivetrain this has? That's none of their business.
That's why. It's the only logical excuse is corruption, because unless somebody has some shares in oil, they have no reason for this. I mean, the rest of the taxi fleet already contains enough combustion cars that if they have some reason for like heat or availability or whatever their excuse might be, they've already got it. It doesn't have to be from this company too.
Well,
Right.
I think what also happened here is that the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission has only a certain number of medallions that they give out to access for any type of ride-hailing service, right?
Right.
And what they've done here is they had a loophole to allow more EVs to get into it. They had the ability to jump to the head of the line. If you had an EV fleet, you could get a medallion easier than you could if you were a gasoline fleet.
That makes
And
sense
what
if you want more EVs on the road.
That's exactly what you should do. But what they have done in the last month is there was a rumor going around that they were going to be dropping that insert of EVs into their medallion program. And apparently there was a meeting that was going to happen yesterday, and a lot of people thought it might have been a foregone conclusion by how the commission was speaking about this. And sure enough, after the meeting happened, it was voted to take away that ability to get EVs into that extra position, that easier position to get a medallion. And quite unfortunate. And I think the commission, to try to maybe save face, had turned around and said, well, you could enter as a regular fleet if you had at least 50 vehicles that were gasoline. And then we could enter you in and you could get a normal medallion and then bring EVs into it as well. And it's like the Revel company's going, what? We want an all EV fleet and you're telling us that we have to buy gasoline vehicles and then swap them out for our new Model Ys? That's crazy.
That is
I got
crazy.
you. Buy 50 beaters that barely qualify for the license, and then just park them.
Well, that's the thing, Casey, is you can't buy beaters. They have to be brand new vehicles.
Oh, they have to be brand new?
There's requirements that the vehicle has to be of a certain age and a certain number of miles on it or less. So they can't just go buy nothing vehicles and move them out.
Get a bunch of candies. Well, the candies don't qualify, but you can get the Nissan NV200 and then park all of them and then sell them to local contractors.
I just think it's short-sighted of the
It is
New
totally.
York
It's
City
shooting themselves in the foot.
Taxi and Limousine Commission that they wanted more EVs, and of course we know now that people want to drive in EVs. We look at those stories about the New York yellow cabs and how they're starting to transition their fleet to electric vehicles because people are requesting a cab that is an EV as opposed to a gasoline vehicle.
People are waiting around and re-requesting to get the Model 3.
Exactly. People are willing to wait to get an EV drive as opposed to a regular, because people are curious, they're interested, they want to experience it, or they have experienced, they don't want to go back.
Right.
So, having this fleet in Manhattan would have been a big plus. It would have showed the city is progressive. It would have cut down on pollution on those congested streets. If anyone's ever been to New York, you know that the sidewalks and the streets are congested with people. And to have a little bit less pollution floating around would be a win for everybody involved.
Right. And they were doing this company was doing the right thing by their drivers. They're not making them gig workers. They were all W-2 employees with benefits. I'm reading this here. And yeah, so they're putting zero emission vehicles on the road, giving people real jobs with benefits. And
look at all those fast chargers they installed.
And yet the commission is saying, no, we don't want that. It definitely sounds like they are trying to protect the existing businesses and not looking at what the right thing is going forward. I would rather
another company.
I would rather see them say we are not going to give medallions to any gas cars after 2025, and or something like that. And that means you have to start now putting electric cars on the road so that you're not, getting rid of your whole fleet at once in 2024 in December.
Right.
Yeah. So it says the commission sat through the testimony and then had zero questions and spent zero time deliberating before making their decision, which means this was just a show. They had already decided, and it didn't matter what was said in this meeting or what the facts were. It was just a done deal. That's horrible.
Yep. Unfortunately, that is the way it has come down. So if you're in New York, complain. Go and make your voice known. Send a tweet, send a letter, send a voicemail into the taxi commission and let them know that you're unhappy, because if enough people do it, they will change their minds in a hurry. We've seen that happen in many different instances.
Yep, write your local politician, write the mayor.
Right. It says the Sierra Club and Tri-State Transportation Campaign are backing Revel in this. So if you're there's two groups that you can work with to try to get this changed, or maybe there's legal action that you could support. Who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, get plugged in and make yourself heard.
That's what we've said in this program before. If you're an individual with an EV, there's not a lot of power being an individual. But if you associate yourself with an EV group that's in your area or region, that group has power. There's always power in numbers. So if you're an EV person, get involved by joining your local group. So at least you're informed about things that happen. If there's going to be a tax hike on EVs, if there's going to be a change in policy on how EVs are, controlled in your region or area, it's always good to be at least on a newsletter or at least connected with a group that you're informed. And I would certainly encourage all of you to reach out to your local group and join it. Typically, there's no charge to join or to be on an EV email. They just want to hear, maybe send you a survey here and there. But definitely reach out, see if you can be a part of it, and together we can make things like this change.
Absolutely. Breakneck Trent asked, what will they do when the Tesla robo-taxi fleet awakens? And my answer is go out of business, but the practical answer is probably block empty Teslas from entering the city.
Right. You see it right here is a perfect example. They're going to use all the bureaucracy they can to try to suppress this as long as possible to protect the status quo for the people who are currently making bank off of it.
Freedom
I would think
of
that
small
someone
business,
like
yeah.
Revel that have bought, all these cars, all these Teslas, for example, I wonder if there will be room for large fleet groups inside of the Tesla robo-taxi world. Elon's
Elon
talked
said,
about
yeah, make it happen.
individuals owning a
Yeah.
couple of cars and having them work for you. So is that something that's in Tesla's future as well, to allow a fleet to do it as well as an individual?
Yeah, Elon didn't say no when a couple folks asked him at Autonomy Day. So
the annoying part about this, I mean, there's lots of annoying things, but they already had their medallions.
Yeah,
which makes sense. You want to get that before you spend a lot of money on this other stuff. And so they were like, okay, check. We did what we needed to be able to do this. And now to cut their legs out from underneath them just seems like dirty pool.
seems like the way to do it, though, because now they've invested, so now you're really hurting them twice.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, if you're in it for evil, which, I mean, outside looking in, that's exactly what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It does look shady, doesn't it? But it is an industry that has been shady for a long time. So there's more of that still in there. But hopefully things like this can change with people pressuring them. With that, on to our last story of the evening. And this, of course, is exciting news. Tesla has now entered at the top of the chart, the #1 position for an American-made car. So this cars.com does a survey every year, and they check all the parts that are inside of a vehicle, where it's assembled, all 5 different matrices that they track, and they find out who is the most American car. So the one that's made in America, parts come from America. The engine is made there. It's assembled. It's completed. The motor. It checks all these different boxes, and then it comes up with a rating based on those 5 categories. They don't share the exact rating, but they give us the 5 categories, and then they come up with the top list. And this year, Tesla submitted their paperwork as to where their parts and their motors are coming from, and they ended up in the #1 position. The most American car made was the Model 3. The Model Y showed up in 3rd position, and so they took the 1st and 3rd position this year, whereas last year, without the help of Tesla, they were without the help of Tesla showing them where the parts were coming from, all the proper paperwork, they were down in the list in the top 10. But now they've jumped ahead once they've submitted their paperwork to the organization, proving where this stuff is coming from and where the parts are placed and where it's finished. Of course, we all know Fremont is where all the North American cars come from. But it is good to see that if you want to buy local and support local jobs or countrywide jobs, this is the place to do it, because it is now taking that #1 position based on the data that has been shared with this particular organization.
Yeah, I think what stopped them in the past, Model S was actually submitted to this as well, and what stopped them in the past was the battery for Model S came from Japan, so it's 7,800 parts that that came from Japan, and or one big one, depending on how they wanted to measure it, and I'm surprised they haven't submitted before now, because you would think that the Model 3, when they were wrapped up the Gigafactory, would have already qualified, unless, I don't know, maybe the computer or something, because now that's coming from Texas instead of China.
Right. But like Mark said, Tesla just wasn't submitting paperwork to them, so it was up to them to try to guess, and they're not going to give credit if they don't have documentation for it. So where the Model 3's been on this list up until now has been
outside looking in.
Yeah, rounded down. Yeah, so it might have been number one all this time, but now we have documentation of it, and I like the fact that Tesla's trying to build on every continent, have a gigafactory or two on every continent, and then as much as they can locally source, which just makes sense. That's just a lot shorter logistics chain, and the longer that logistics chain is, the more likely it is to have problems. And if there's a natural disaster in that area, well, that impacts the factory, and that's going to be shut down anyway. And so if their suppliers are shut down too, well, that's not a problem. But if there's a hurricane across the world and it shuts down your supplier, but you're still actively going, and you've got 99% of the parts you need, that's a serious problem. So locally source, locally produce, locally sell. It's the way to go, and that's exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, having three distinct supply chains based on continents certainly would help. And in the situation where Patrick mentioned, where there was a natural disaster or one of the parts was wiped out for whatever reason from a certain country, the other two continents could chip in and send those parts over to they're back on their feet again. So exactly. It makes sense to have that ability to source from multiple suppliers, even though, if you were to triple your order, you might get a cheaper widget price, but to support your community, support your country that these cars are being made in, and by those employees that live there, it just makes a whole lot of sense in my mind. I'm happy to pay a few dollars more for a widget just because it's supporting where you live and where you operate. It just makes sense. And those distinct supply chains all running on different continents can help each other if there was to be a disaster to wipe out something that the others needed.
Yep, and it looks like they're well on their way, because, like I mentioned, they've got their fab out of Samsung in Texas, so they just got to get the rest of their chips made there, and they've already got the fabs in Taiwan and Shanghai and China, so they're good there too.
Yep,
very cool.
Well on their way.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, everyone, for watching this evening. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. That really helps us. Press the subscribe and follow us on Twitter at The Tesla Life, as well as Facebook, The Tesla Life #1. And with that, Casey, any shout-outs this evening?
Yeah, so over at youtube.com/CaseyGreen, I've got a couple videos coming out. One is an adventure with level 1 charging, and another is another review of a food tray in the car, as well as quite a few other videos that I've got on the editing pile. So stay tuned.
Very good. Patrick, what have you got to share with us this evening?
I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at cardswithcords.net. And my latest story is just a couple days ago, we had a bit of a heat wave here in Oregon. And so our local utility put their virtual power wall, virtual power pack, virtual power plant, that's the VPP, into action. And it didn't go exactly the way I think they wanted it to go. And you can read all about that at cardswithcords.net.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, with that, we wish you all a great evening or day or whenever you're watching this. And we look forward to seeing you next week so you can find out what's going on in the Tesla life.
Stay positive, test negative. Thank you, Lee Moon.
Good night, all.